You know, we often think of the law as just a big book of rules, but it's so much more than that. It's a tool. It can be a shield, something that protects, but it can also be a sword, something you use to fight back. And today, we're diving into what happens when things get really messy and you need both.
So let's just get right to it with a really fascinating question. Can you actually take someone to court, sue them, if you're not exactly an angel in the whole situation yourself? It's a tricky one, right? A real legal and ethical puzzle.
You might think the answer is a simple yes or no. But of course, it's not. The legal system actually has a pretty interesting way of looking at these situations where, well, maybe both people have messed up. It all boils down to what is fundamentally fair.
And this is a really key idea to grasp. A court isn't just there to pick a winner and a loser. Sometimes its most important job is to protect its own reputation, to make sure that the system itself isn't being used to, reward someone for their own bad behavior.
And that leads us right to this first concept, the court's shield. This is a defensive tool the legal system uses to guard its own integrity. It has a formal name, of course. It's called the Clean Hands Doctrine.
This old legal saying just nails it, doesn't it? He who comes into equity must come with clean hands. It comes from a special area of law called equity, which was basically developed to make sure things were fair, even when the black and white letter of the law wasn't enough. It's a simple idea, but wow, is it powerful.
So what does clean hands actually mean? Well, it's pretty straightforward. If you show up in court asking for help, but it turns out you acted unethically in the very same issue you're suing about, a judge can literally look at you and say, nope, sorry, we are not going to help you profit from your own shady business. Your hands are considered unclean.
Now, this isn't some vague, you're a bad person so you lose rule. The details really matter. First, your bad act has to be directly connected to the lawsuit. It can't be about something you did years ago. Second, it's a defense that the person you're suing brings up. And finally, it's totally up to the judge. They decide if what you did was bad enough to throw your case out.
And here's where we see exactly where this shield comes into play. If you're just suing someone for money, what's called a legal remedy, this doctrine usually won't be a factor. But if you're asking the court to order someone to do something or to stop doing something, that's called an equitable remedy. And that is exactly when the judge puts your own behavior under a microscope. Let's make this super clear with an example. Imagine a business owner sues an ex-employee for stealing a client list. They want the court to issue an order, an injunction, to stop the ex-employee from using it. But then, it comes out that the business owner originally stole that same list from a competitor. The court is almost certainly going to say, sorry, you've got unclean hands, and refuse to help them. Okay, so that's the law as a shield, stopping people with unclean hands. But what if you are the clear victim in a situation? Let's totally flip the script. Now we're going to look at the law as a sword, a weapon you can use to fight back.
And a perfect and sadly very common modern example of this is doxing. That's when someone maliciously posts your private information online, things like your address or your phone number, trying to cause you harm. In a situation like that, you better believe the legal system hands you a sword to take action.
But it's not always simple. You don't just have one option. You actually have different legal paths you can take, and you can think of each one as a different weapon. They have different strengths, different weaknesses. It's all about choosing the right tool for the job. First up, let's talk about the clock. It's ticking. If you decide to go after someone for doxing using a charge called unjust vexation, this is how long you have to file your case. Just 2 months. That's it. After that, your chance is gone.
But check this out. If you choose a different weapon, like filing under the Data Privacy Act, the whole game changes. I mean, look at this number. In a country like the Philippines, that's the kind of fine the doxer could be facing. The difference is absolutely massive.
So you can see the strategy here, right? This table really lays it out. Unjust vexation is basically for when someone is being legally annoying. It's all about your emotional distress. But it's a lighter charge with that super short 2-month fuse. The Data Privacy Act, on the other hand, that's the heavy artillery. It treats doxing as a serious crime, a violation of your data rights. The penalties are huge, and you have way more time to bring a case.
And you know what? It gets even more strategic than that. Smart lawyers and prosecutors have this clever move up their sleeve, something called the backup charge strategy. This is a little peek behind the curtain at how the legal game is really played.
So here's how it works. The prosecutor goes big. They file the serious Data Privacy Act charge. But they also file the smaller unjust vexation charge at the same time. So why do that?
Well, it's a safety net. Even if they can't prove all the technical details of the big data crime, it's usually pretty easy to prove that the person's main goal was to harass you and cause distress, so they can still get a conviction. It's brilliant.
So, we've looked at the law as a shield that protects the court's integrity, and as a sword that lets victims fight back. So let's pull these two big ideas together and think about what it all means for justice in our modern world.
I think the biggest thing to take away from all this is that the law is a really sophisticated, complex tool. It has this built-in defense mechanism, the shield of the Clean Hands Doctrine, to stop people from abusing the system. And at the exact same time, it has an entire armory of weapons, the sword of laws like the Data Privacy Act, to go after new kinds of harm.
And that really brings us to the final big question. We have this ancient legal principle, the shield, and this very modern law, the sword. As more and more of our lives happen online, and as people find new and awful ways to hurt each other, these tools are being put to the test every single day. So you have to wonder, is the law's shield strong enough, and is its sword sharp enough to actually keep up?